This episode is for the writer who makes time to write and is committed to her memoir, but she still isn't making any progress. If Willpower could finish and publish your memoir, my job as a writing coach and an editor would look a lot different. In today's episode, I'm going to show you why willpower actually isn't your problem and how this reframe can refresh your entire writing process. Let's get into it. You are listening to the Memoir Method podcast, the place for writers, readers, and anyone who appreciates the collective power of our stories. In this podcast, we explore the impact of memoir alongside an examination of writing techniques and strategies used in the genre. Whether you are a writer looking for inspiration and guidance or a passionate reader seeking meaningful connections through shared experiences, the Memoir Method podcast is your go-to conversation spot. I'm your host, Charlotte, editor, writer, and the heart behind Charlotte Writes. Let's get started. Before I was an editor, I was a writer, and so I understand those creative ebbs and flows incredibly well. I also am a millennial woman who scrolls the internet, and I have fallen prey to productivity and hustle culture. We need more discipline, more focus, more time, and then we can prove that we are committed enough, in this case to our writing. But what ends up happening is that we are disciplined. We do focus. We do show up and carve out time, but your memoir draft is still messy and still unfinished. So I want to spend my time with you today reframing how you think about your writing and your unfinished memoir, because discipline, focus, and time are not actually your problem, friend. I don't think that I'm exaggerating when I say that all of my writers have been working on their memoirs for literal years. They come to me after having spent the past 3, 5, sometimes even 10 years working on their memoir. And yes, writing takes time. Creativity takes time. There's a lot of reasons why you don't want to rush the process of memoir writing. But here's what happens when you have invested this kind of time in your writing and you are still in a very, very messy draft. You start thinking, I really should be further along than this. I'm so behind. Why am I still working on this? And you start to feel frustrated with yourself and discouraged. I have felt this frustration deeply. So hear me when I say this. You don't have a willpower problem. You have a clarity problem. You cannot force or strong arm progress on a story that you don't yet fully understand yourself. And when you've been working on a memoir for years and you have not reoriented yourself to why you're doing this, to the point of the story, then you are going to get lost. And every hour and word of creativity that you put into this is still going to result in a messy draft, which is not what you want. So you're not looping because you lack talent or discipline. You're looping because you've lost sight of your story's point. And again, I say that with so much love in my heart as someone who has lost the thread of her writing before, as someone who has walked so many writers through this exact same experience of missing the point and having to reorient themselves to why they are actually doing this, to bring their own creativity into clarity so that then they can actually make progress on their memoir, actually make the mess mean something, make it refined, pull away what doesn't work, amplify what does work. You can't do that if there's a deeper inner confusion about what you're doing. Every time I dive into a writer's manuscript, I can always tell when they don't quite know what they want to say. This happens every time. I can tell how much you care about your story. I can tell how deeply your experiences have shaped you because I'm an editor and I can read into that. But you're not making the reader care about it. And that is really one of the major blind spots that I see with writers who come into my world with these manuscripts that they care so much about, that they have poured hours and hours and hours and years into creating, but it's still not connecting with a reader in the emotional way that they want. What this indicates to me is that they've been writing harder, not smarter. I want you to think about, okay, where have I been writing harder when I actually could be writing smarter? That's one of the big shifts that I want to be talking about on this podcast, on my Instagram, in my email list. Like this is one of the big reframes that I want to spend a lot of time with over the next little bit, is figuring out how you can write smarter, not harder. So you can have all the willpower in the world, but what's happening is that you are pouring it into the wrong places. Right now, you are investing all of that commitment and willpower that you have into writing and rewriting. You're writing harder, okay? What you really need to do is direct that willpower, that commitment, that discipline into some reflection first. This is what it is to write smarter. So yes, writing is a practice. It requires discipline. But what if that discipline isn't about pushing harder, but more about creating safety in your writing process so that you can make room for creativity and that inner connection to shine again? So you started writing your memoir for a reason, right? Why? I love to ask my writers, why did you start writing this? Some writers I've worked with, they hadn't even considered themselves writers before starting their memoir. But I want you to think about, why was this important to you? Go back to that little version of you who thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. Remember that excitement? Remember that drive? You had so much excitement going into this. You knew that your story meant something. You knew that it was here to do something greater. I want you to tap back into that. Like, why did this project matter to you to begin with? What was it that drove you to show up to your manuscript draft over and over and over? Because I can almost guarantee you that what inspired you to do that then is not what is getting you to do that now. When you're feeling stuck, it's because you're showing up to your writing out of obligation because you feel like you have to. You don't open up your draft feeling like, yeah, I can't wait to dive back into this. You're opening it up because you feel like you have to. And that is a very different kind of creative energy. And don't get me wrong, I think there is a value in showing up to your writing even when you're not feeling it. I think that waiting for inspiration to strike is actually a really fast way to halt your writing progress because sometimes you don't feel inspired at all. There's value in showing up no matter what your headspace is, but I want to give you different ways to show up. That's what this episode is about. I want you to be disciplined, not in writing more or doing more, but in tapping into yourself more, accessing that deeper message and reason for your story, and then showing up to your writing with that. So you might not feel creative right now. That happens to all of us. Again, if you waited to feel creative for that to be your sign to jump into writing every time, then you would never write, or you would write very inconsistently. It's not that you have to feel creative all the time, but the reason you don't feel creative now is that you've sidelined your real reason for writing. You've forgotten it. It's kind of gone to the back burner because now you have this draft and it's a little unwieldy. It's pretty messy and you don't know what to do with it. And that overwhelm is crowding out your actual reason for writing it. So what if your only job this week wasn't to revise 3 more chapters or to add 5,000 more words, but instead, what if your only job as a creative writer this week was to reflect on why your story is important? Why does it matter to you to share it? And why does it matter to your reader? You don't have to exert all of this emotional, mental, and even physical energy sometimes into fixing your memoir. Not yet. I just want you to reconnect to it on an emotional, spiritual level. How does that feel? How does that assignment feel? You don't have to actually do anything in your manuscript. I just want you to connect with it. This is kind of a slowing down to speed up strategy. It's what I do with all of my writers. I don't dive into the edits. I don't give them actual inline suggestions and comments and homework or assignments right away. When I work with my writers, we pause and we slow down and I help them tap back into why they're doing this, why it's important to them and why it's important to their reader. We go into that first and then we go into the actual draft. So this week, I just want you to pause. I want you to zoom out and think about the big picture of your memoir, not only of your story, but of the impact. Tap into why this is important to you. And maybe that reason has changed since you started. We change a lot over the years, and you're probably a different person now from who you were when you started it. But just think about why this matters to you. And then think about why this matters to your reader. Tap back into that. And then when you do go back into your manuscript, it's going to be clearer for you. If this episode has resonated with you, if you're sitting there thinking, I just want to finish this, I just want to be done. I created a short, free 9-minute video that walks you through the 3 hidden reasons you're still stuck in your memoir draft. This is going to show you exactly what's keeping you from finishing and how to start shifting out of those spirals right now. You can grab the video through the link in the show notes, and it will be sent straight to your inbox. More than anything, I want you to find your creative energy again. I want writing to be fun for you again. I want you to be excited about diving into your draft. I don't want you to dread it. Like, my favorite experience as a writing coach and as an editor is to see that shift in my writers when the first couple calls, they show up and they're overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't know, like there's just this sense of heaviness in their shoulders and in the way that they talk about their writing. A few calls in, that changes. And they come to me so excited about what they're doing. They come to me feeling so excited to share with me what they worked on and to actually talk about it. This shift happens every time, and it's what I'm really passionate about helping you tap into and figure out. So go dive into that short video. Again, it's called 3 Hidden Reasons You Haven't Finished Your Memoir. It's only 9 minutes, and it's going to give you some reframes that will make your shoulders relax, your jaw relax. Your creative brain is going to start ticking away again, and diving into your manuscript is going to feel doable because you're going to pause before you do it, and you're going to make these shifts in how you engage with your manuscript, how you show up. I don't want you to stop showing up just because you don't feel creative. I want you to change how you show up. Okay? That's what this is about. If you're listening to this episode thinking that you're ready to dive into high-level coaching and editing support, go ahead and book a free 30-minute call with me and we'll chat. The link for that will also be in the show notes. I love to work with you one-on-one. I have some spots open. I love to help you tap back into that. Giving you the tools and the space and the opportunity to fall back in love with your story is one of the things that I'm really good at. It is my favorite part of this job. So if that's something that you are ready for or want to talk more about, just book one of those free calls in the show notes and we will make that happen. So thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know what you think about that video, and I will talk to you soon. You've just listened to an episode of the Memoir Method podcast. The Memoir Method podcast is presented by Charlotte Writes. If you liked what you heard, the best way to support the show is to subscribe through your preferred podcast player. And if you're feeling especially inspired, I'd love it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leaving a review really does help other readers and writers like yourself find the show. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find me on my website at charlottewrites.co or on Instagram at charlottejanewrites. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And remember that you have a story that matters.